Hi, it's Alex. I sound very gruff at the moment. I've had head cold for the last 2 weeks, which has been great while I've been getting used to the whole public speaking thing, but you roll with it. So I'm just coming online today to really just share what's been going on. I think just to fill the gap in case you're watching on the replay or catch up at any point, I've been on social media, I guess, heavily or more intently the past year and really trying to raise the awareness about mental health. And I spread my wings quite recently and took the plunge. It was the Exhale event that some of you may have seen me posting about. It was an event, a mental health showcase in Manchester that took place on the 21st, so Sunday just gone. The organizer of it, Molly, she started it off with a tweet, and as a anxiety sufferer, she wanted to have an event that was predominantly in the interest of children and young people, which is where her difficulties with anxiety had started. And I thought, I'll do it. And I signed up, and I thought this is another way, another branch really of being able to spread awareness. And I think that my experience working with children, especially for 12 years plus, would really lend its hand. So yeah, we went down and we did the Exhale event, and I think that a lot of the talk around it on the build up was one of the questions was, why am I talking about mental health? Why should I be talking about mental health in the context of children? And I'm thinking of someone in particular that kind of like looked at me as if I was on another planet. And we all have mental health, and I think that's something that we don't all appreciate, is that we all have mental health. Either our mental health is fine and dandy and we've got spring in our step and we're able to be quite social and take care of ourselves quite well and we stay quite grounded. And then sometimes it's not great and we withdraw a little bit, or we feel a little bit moody or under the weather, and sometimes can't always put our finger on it. But we all have mental health, and so do children. When I spoke to the talk on Sunday, I said, we need to talk to our children about mental health, because when they experience it, and when being the operative word, because 1 in 4 people every year disclose having mental health difficulties, then talking about it now means that our children are prepared, does it not? Because if we don't do that, then the only alternative that they've got is to learn on the job, and mental health is already very overwhelming and confusing and isolating. So if they've got to learn about the language that they need to use to talk about it, or kind of using the awareness of their body, for example, stomach aches or headaches or tension, kind of what does that mean and how does it inform what's going on for me and what can I do to make it feel better, to make myself feel better. If we're not preparing them, then we're kind of setting them up to fail, which I think is where our generation and older people really struggle. Because something else that's also became apparent whilst I was putting together this talk is that we normalise mental health. That is my goal. Normalise mental health, talk about it. Mental health, until I'm blue in the face. But what about normalising the fear? What is it that makes us kind of step back and just go, hang on a minute, I'm not sure I want to kind of delve into that. And it was only about, mental health then as a word, as a concept. It's only been used or really coined in the last 80 years or so, because before that, what words did we use? Loony, mad as a box of frogs, psycho even. Any mental health issue was just had a really derogatory connotation to it. Like, nobody wanted to be associated with it. And it's only 80 years ago, so we can't just expect everyone to turn around and go, oh yeah, I'm okay talking about my mental health now, because these things take a really long time to work through, don't they? And more than that, what happened to people that suffered with mental health? It was only in the 1970s and 1980s that, a vast majority of the loony bins or the asylums or the madhouses were closed down. And, they sound awful enough just using the name, but there was also heavily associated with really invasive treatment methods as well, which are unethical now, but, kind of that's the stuff that was happening because we didn't know as much. So I think it's normal that we're all a little bit wary of it. I'm not sure. I think maybe, being afraid of it is a bit strong term. I know that we're not all afraid of it. I'd love to know what your thoughts were. Like, if in here you know that it's okay, but in here or outwardly you struggle to talk about it and stuff, I wonder what informs that, kind of what's around for you, and what are your barriers. I'd be interested to hear that. I think a lot of the time for the parents and the adults that I speak to, it's just about the pressure that they feel to know that they're going to say the right thing. I think it's really distressing, isn't it, to see a young person in any case, or, another adult, struggling with their mental health, and that sense of helplessness and not knowing what to say, or the pressure that we've got to say the right thing, or we've got to, be really careful, and, this is our only chance, and it's not the case. So I think a big message at the Exhale event particularly was that the work, the magic that you can do when a young person speaks to you about mental health is within the attachment that you've got. So, not to discredit my training in any way, it's invaluable, and it gives me a lot of ideas and a lot of resources to be able to use, but it's the attachment really that the children and young people hook onto. The fact that I'm there, the fact that I'm listening, the fact that I'm really consistent, the fact that I'm able to feed back what I'm hearing really validates their experience. I've not got any interest in reframing it or making it seem smaller, or, trying to calm my own distress. So, that's all done within the attachment. There's a blog, I'll share the link. If you're watching this on Facebook, I'll share it in the comments. If you're sharing it on YouTube, if you're watching it, on YouTube, then I'll share the links on there. But yeah, my top 5 tips and phrases that you can use when you're speaking to children and young people. So the Exhale event in itself then was absolutely lovely, the first of its kind, and I think that they're going to hold another event in September. If anyone from the Exhale watches this, they might be able to confirm that. I'm sure they said that it was September that there's going to be another one, and actually they're looking for ambassadors as well, so other people to be involved. So if you think that you're interested, I definitely would advocate being involved, especially if it's your first type of event. It was really warm. It was lots of people sharing their own experiences. So Molly, the event organizer, spoke about her experiences of acute anxiety and what that looks like, so what that looks like for her when she was growing up and how it presents itself now as well. There was also a lady called Hope Ferger, and she spoke about her journey with anorexia. There was a couple of ladies, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, that on Instagram, I know that they are called Crazy Creative Cool. And one of the ladies that's part of that has OCD, and she spoke about how many different parts of her OCD there was and how she learned to manage it, and any of the difficulties that she kind of came up against really with other people's perception and openness to her difficulties. So there's a couple of questions that I got asked at the Exhale event. One of them was, how can you tell that a young person is experiencing mental health, and particularly children? How do you know a child is experiencing mental health? So I'll be writing some content around that soon. The other one was, oh gosh, what was the other ones? I'll post them. Instead of just trying to think of them, I'll post them in the comments. And if you just let me know what you're interested in, or maybe watching the video, if there's anything else that kind of is sparked and you want me to write some content on it, then let me know. So there's some more content basically coming on the back of the Exhale event. This morning I went to Neasden Primary School. Oh, it was absolutely amazing. So I spoke to the 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11-year-olds that are still at the school. And so if you're not aware, I've been offering educational establishments a free mental health talk over the last couple of months. I offered it to 5 schools. 3 primary schools actually have booked an appointment with me, and 1 college. I still have 1 space left. So if you're interested on the back of what I'm saying, or you know somebody that might be, then get in touch and by all means take that last spot. But the teacher kind of introduced me and said, make her feel welcome and, well behaved and all that. And they all just smiled so delightfully. All their little faces, kind of just ready to hear what I had to say. And, in light of some of the comments that I've had, like, why do you want to speak to children about mental health? I know that they can handle it because I've spoken to them so many times in my career over the last 13 years about mental health, but I don't really use the word mental health. And I chose to today. And, the first question that I asked was, who knows what mental health is? Who knows what a counsellor and a therapist is? One of them replied that I make decisions based on about England, which I thought was amazing. And I had to let her down and say, I'm not that important. And the other one said that you help people. And mental health, one of the girls said that it's in your head. So it's not about your body, it's about your head. And, they had so much more awareness than I think that we give them credit for sometimes. I use some cartoon characters to describe mental health issues. So I made conscious effort to stay away from labelling. The examples I gave was ADHD and borderline personality, which I know are some of the behaviours that they experience through their peers in school. So I had a meeting before the assembly, and it was a really good way, a non-confrontational way to explain what these characters struggle with, how it might be to have them in your classroom, and why they may have ended up behaving in those certain ways, to really get them thinking about next time that somebody is quite impulsive or kind of snatches or shouts out or flicks the chair over, that you might not be able to see something physical, but inside, perhaps because of the way that they're used to being treated or the way that their brain works at times. We spoke about hormones being released and things and feeling overwhelmed, that there is often something else happening for them. We spoke about helpful and unhelpful ways to treat people like that, and then ways in which, if they're struggling with their own mental health, I gave them tips, and I said that there were things that my adult clients wish they knew when they were younger. So things like, speak to an adult. There's nothing too small, too big, or too scary that you can't speak to an adult about it. That all adults feel anyway, that you can't make them feel and you can't stop them from feeling things. And if you tell them something and they have a reaction, then it's probably because they care about you, and that they might not always get it right, but they definitely care about you, and it comes from a good intention. Another thing I said was that my clients wish that they was less hard on themselves. And I asked a full assembly of children, I said, who is aware that when you're trying something new, that inside your head you have a voice that either calls you silly or says you can't or tells you to stop being daft? And this is no exaggeration, I think all those children put their hands up. So, by talking about that straight away, that experience that they had was normalised. And then I was able to say to them that the adults that I work with wish that they'd have been more kind. They wish that they'd have been able to encourage themselves instead of telling themselves that they were weird or that they were weak. And that's another thing, actually, that asking for help is the ultimate strength. We spoke about creating a superhero, and asking for help really is a super strength, that a lot of us misconstrue it to be about weakness, and that and some misconception that we need to do everything on our own, in order to be strong. But when actually asking for help means you have to talk, it means you make yourself vulnerable, it means that you have to have trust in somebody else to be there and to listen or to meet your needs and whatever they are. So if you ever ask your question, if you ever have the thought, can I speak to children about mental health? my answer would have always been yes, because I have been doing that for the last 13 years. But I spoke indirectly about the concept of mental health today, and the children knew more than maybe we give them credit for, were really willing to engage. They don't hold the same barriers or the same fears that we do. You know, in fact, at the end, I said, has anyone got any questions for me? And this little boy at the front that had asked me a question that kind of didn't really make sense. I really struggled to answer it. So, you know, kind of I praised the fact that he'd answered me the question more than anything. But then at the end, he put his hand up and he was the cutest little thing sat at the front. And I said, yes, what's your question? He said, can I tell you about my mental health? And I said, I would love to hear about your mental health, but I don't think it's a good idea to tell everybody about your mental health. So how about you just wait for me at the end? And he didn't wait, and I found out later that, you know, he does have some difficulties at school and works with a teacher. And so how endearing, when we think about the barriers that we face when talking about mental health, that 7-year-old didn't have any, really aware that he did have them and that he was treated differently because he had different needs, but was just put his hand up and willing just to share that. And I think that, you know, it's been an inspiration. And yeah, take that away, actually, if I can give you anything today, is that children can handle mental health. You can only prepare them by talking about it. You can't make them have mental health difficulties. And, you know, take a leaf out of that 7-year-old book, and if you're struggling, then reach out. I'd like to hear what you think about any of the issues that have risen. If you are working in a school or a college and you think that you would like to access the talks that I've been doing, remember I've only got one place, but have it, get in touch with me, and yeah, ask any questions that you've got. Hello to Richard and hello to Marta. And I can see there's a couple of other people watching. You don't have to say hello, that's fine. I know it can be quite... I think mental health this is something that maybe why I don't do more live videos, is that I feel as though this might be my stuff, and you know, I might need to own it myself, that asking questions, asking you to engage on me in some way outs you, which really I need to confront that, because what I've just been saying is that we all have mental health, and actually I should be encouraging you. So Marta, thank you for putting a smiley face on and making the first step. Anyone else want to say hello? I can see there's 3 of you watching. So is there anyone there that's brave enough to say hello? Just take a sip of my tea while I wait. Come on. You're not shying away, you're still there. Right, no pressure. I'm going to leave it there. Lovely to get back on video. I've been saying, a couple of people have said, I've not seen your face recently. Haley, Louise, hi. Thank you. Good work. Excellent. Yeah, so I'm going to make a conscious effort. I've got a lot on at the moment, a lot of the school stuff. I'm really busy with clients. There's a lot of, I have to go. Lunch has finished. Well, thank you for dropping by, Richard. And thank you for adding the comment. So that's my 3. Hi. Excellent. Right, I'm going to let you go, because probably if you are on your lunch, it's going to end, and I have a client coming soon. Anyway, so feel free to ask me any questions if you're on replay, and I shall speak to you again soon. All right, take care. Bye.